Chase Utley will always be the man in Philadelphia, and what a night it was last night. 2 bombs, a granny, 5 RBIs. Amazing. Wow. Kyle Gaffner is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. We're here to reminisce on the memories of Chase Utley and last night's game, which Kyle was at. How was the game, man? That's amazing that you were there.
It was unbelievable. I've been looking forward to this for a while now, and when I saw it on the schedule when he was coming, I got tickets right away, and it was electric down there. I mean, you couldn't put into words how exciting and like how emotional you got when he came to the plate and everybody was cheering. It gave me goosebumps. It really did. It was insane.
Yeah, it was very, very emotional. You know, he gets a standing ovation. The fans wouldn't shut the fuck up. Like, he wanted them to shut the fuck up, and they didn't, because he saluted them with his batting helmet first, and then when they wouldn't stop cheering, then he gave them a wave to the crowd.
He was like pounding his fist, like, yeah, like, all right, guys, I get it, thank you. But that's classic Chase right there.
Yeah, and then he steps into the batter's box with like everyone's still like going strong, and then the first pitch comes in, a questionable strike call, and the crowd boos. It was great.
It was awesome. And you knew that. You knew for the Philly fans were going to bring it. And we get such a bad rap all the time. And how classy was that of us to do? Like, I want to hear the sports writers and the media talk about that. But no, it will always be the negative stuff, like the Santa that they won't let go from the 60s, or the batteries we threw at J.D. Drew. Like, get over it.
Oh, man. And I'll tell you what, the question today has been, should the crowd have cheered an opposing player? And I'm talking about the homers, the grand slam, and the solo shot in the 5th. There's been some controversy today about whether the Phillies fans should have cheered him. What do you have to say about that?
100% absolutely should have cheered for him. What he has done for the city, what he was the best second baseman we have ever had. He was a part of that great rebuild that we had with Rollins and Howard and all those guys. So absolutely, it's only special. He was here for 13 years. So you only do that for a certain number of people, not everybody, but for what he did for the city, he was the best second baseman of his era. Mm-hmm. So absolutely, you cheer for him, no bar nones about it. Absolutely.
Yeah, when I heard that argument today, I'm like I guess people must not have anything to talk about, because that's preposterous that you wouldn't cheer for this guy. What he gave to the organization, not even on the field, off the field as well. And the way he played, the grit, the toughness, he played the game the right way, always took the extra base, always hustled. And then obviously what he does in the clutch, I mean, Jesus Christ, like you had a feeling he was going to hit a homer last night, and not only does he hit one, he hits 2, and one of them was a granny.
It's funny you say that, because when the bases were loaded, I looked over to my dad and I'm like, well, how awesome would that be if he hit a grand slam? And then it happened. It was so humid last night, you knew the balls were going to fly. And at his first at bat, he had said in an interview he was real nervous, and you could kind of tell he was. Because when Velasquez was out in L.A., he got hit around by the Dodgers. But it looked like he pitched Utley a little bit differently. And I wonder if that standing ovation had something to do with that too. But he got locked in like Chase does. He's got that sweet compact swing, and he is clutch. I used to call him Clutchley back in the day, because he would always come up with the clutch play whenever you needed it.
I mean, like, that first one was a bomb. That thing was fucking demolished, and I mean, you think about 2009 World Series right away when you think of the clutch play of Chase Utley, all those homers, the homers he hit off, he hit a homer off Sabathia, right? I believe, and
yep,
yeah, and just not even against right-handed pitchers, he's hitting homers against lefties, and that was an amazing World Series performance.
And if you remember in 2008 when he did the fake to third and then went home and saved a run, like, that was huge momentum. It's very momentous. It was Clutchley again. He in the first game against Tampa Bay, he also hit the first home run against it. He was a Dodger killer. If you remember all those years we would play the Dodgers, we would slaughter them. in the NLDS. Jimmy did, but I could sit here and talk hours about Chase. He did everything right. He fit what Philly was, what we love to see. Hard work all the time. No gruff, no business, just likes to get down and play baseball, and he's just a true professional. And he's so selfless, too. He gives it to everybody else, his teammates, the fans, and he's not like he doesn't showboat, which is awesome, too. I don't mind the guy showboat. I would like for him to give himself a little bit of appreciation, because you deserve it.
This is how selfless he is. I mean, he talked on WIP today. He was on the show, and he was talking about how he was almost reluctant to do a curtain call after the homers because he didn't want to show up the Phillies, and he apologized for this today. You don't have to apologize for anything, Chase. You are the fucking man for a reason.
And Harry Callis said it, the best saying on top of the world fucking champions, the two best sayings ever that just fit number 26. We will never have a second baseman, I don't think, like Chase again. And for them to come up together and do that, I think that was bigger than Jimmy's. I believe Howie will get that when he finally retires. Just wait for when he gets inducted into the Wall of Fame. Now, that's the argument, too. Will he get into the Hall? I don't know if he really had the games to get there or the numbers. I think he did. If you look at the stretch between, 2004 to 2010, he was the best second baseman, like I had said before. I think he deserves the Hall. Out of all those guys that we had, he was the one that would get into the Hall of Fame. But it's so hard to get in Baseball Hall of Fame, as we know. I hope he gets that on his resume.
I mean, he's my favorite Philly of all time. So there's bias here because I want to see him in the Hall. And I do think he deserves it. I mean, considering he was the best player when he played during his era. So I think that, for his position, I mean. So I think that, it's a lot of different reasons. I mean, he was the most savvy player during his time. You talked about the play where, faked out the base runner. It's just everything he did, the clutchness. He was amazing. Even in the field, he wasn't exactly the greatest fielder all the time, but he just understood how to play the position. He's just a very savvy baseball player, like I said.
Smart. Had grit, was tough, played through injuries. I really wish we didn't have to trade him. I understood he wanted to go to a winning team. He deserves that. I'm rooting for him. I hope LA does go to the World Series just so he wins. I would like Cole Hamels to win another one just because they deserve it. They were just great Phillies.
Yeah. All right, I got the quotes from WIP today. So on the standing ovation before his first at-bat, he said, "It's hard to describe. I was kind of anticipating an ovation, but not nearly that long and that loud. It was so cool. That at-bat went by extremely fast. I just wanted to do my best. I haven't seen any footage of what it looked like. I just wanted to be my best to show my appreciation to the fans because they've treated me so well for a long time. On his preparation being different, no, we don't need to talk about that. On the curtain calls, this is what I wanted to talk about. The last thing I wanted to do is be disrespectful to the Phillies team. That's the last thing I want to do. Those are situations that you never really put yourself in. I wanted to do a little of what I thought the fans wanted, but at the same time, I didn't want to disrespect the Phillies team. I hope they aren't disrespected. I don't think they are, but you just hope they're not. So, it's just a class act all the way around.
100% humble. That's Chase. And we were cheering. I know I was, and the rest of the Philly stadium was too, cheering for him to do the curtain call. Because we've seen that year in and year out with him. He had over 3,300 plate appearances with us. Cashmere blaring as he came out. I'm glad they did that too.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That was awesome. Yeah.
And I'm glad that the Dodgers let him lead off and get that standing ovation. They set it up perfectly. It was nice closure for us fans and for him too, because he didn't get to do this last year when he was traded during that deadline. There was a little bit of lag between the two teams. He knew the trade was going down. It was when they were playing Toronto, and then the next day he was gone, and we really never got a proper goodbye between for the fans and for Chase Utley. So he said he was looking forward to this too.
It's funny. I wrote a lead last night for Philly Influencer. I had something written before everything happened, and I was like, just like old times. The only thing missing was Led Zeppelin's Kashmir on his walk up to the plate, and they fucking played it. Like, that's fucking awesome.
They blared it. They blared it. And the announcer, as he did for so many years, the Cashmere was playing, and here comes number 26, Chase Utley. It gave me chills. It bring back all those memories of all those great years, those 5 division titles, and then the World Series runs. It was just so many great years with this team.
Yep, definitely, for sure, man. And I also wanted to talk Tom McCarthy. It was funny listening to him on the home run calls because he called the homers just like he would like any opposing team. So he was just like, "Oh, that's a home run to right center field." Like so unenthusiastic. I'm like, Tom, it's okay, man. Just let it go, let it out.
And I know if Wheels was there, he probably would have done the same thing because they're Philly through and through, and I don't know if they really want to root for the opposing team. It's just, but it's Chase Utley. Like, it's okay. You have to be enthusiastic about that. Like, for people to say we shouldn't have cheered for him and that, what would you want us to do? It was excitement. It was awesome. It gave us something to cheer about. Nobody really got excited over Cameron Rupps or Cesar Hernandez. They did, but it was Chase's night, and I think the team understood that. Everybody did. They stepped away. Howie said it. He was excited and happy for him. Howard even got love. He dove for the ball, so the chemistry of him even being back in the stadium seems like everybody's excited. So even the old players were too.
Yeah. And it's funny today because it's almost ironic because Brian Dawkins was on 97.5 today. He was saying like he didn't think it was the right thing to do to cheer Utley. And like you talk about like Dawkins and Utley are very similar in terms of obviously the status and the fans love them. Just the work ethic that they put into their respective careers. I mean, these guys are very similar, and Dawkins obviously. I mean, when he came back to Philly, he got a rousing ovation. So interesting to hear that from him.
And I'm surprised that he said that too, because Jim Salisbury had touched on it. He said when, let's say, McNabb is not on the same level as these guys at all, but when he had came back, they gave him a standing ovation. But with the game got going, they booed the crap out of him.
Yeah.
But I feel like each sport has their one main star that they're beloved by the city, the fans. So if Brian Dawkins, when he did come back, say he ran it back for a pick six, you're telling me the Eagle fans would have booed him for that? No, absolutely not. There's Brian Dawkins for the Eagles. There's Chase Utley, Rollins and Howie, I think would be tied for the Phillies, Gagne for the Flyers, and then Allen Iverson for the Sixers. Every time he came in the stadium, no matter if it was with the Pistons, Memphis, you're cheering for the guy because of what they've done. They're Philly through and through.
Yeah, I remember when he came back that first time with Denver, we were definitely cheering him when he hit his first shot. So
now there's a specialty factor,
Yeah. There's exceptions to certain players, and AI, and Dawkins, and Utley. Those are the 3 exceptions. Now, I wanted to ask you this too, because obviously, I mean, even though we are technically still in the playoff race, we're not really, we're not really that good of a team. We're not expected to go anywhere. So do you think it would have been different had we had, say we're in the playoff race and independent race, say we're leading the division or something, then would you react differently?
No.
Yeah, I probably agree. I don't give a fuck. It's Chase Utley.
It's Chase Utley. I do not care if it was the last game of the season. I'm even going to say this brashly. If he was on the Mets and did that, I still would have been cheering. And I despise the Mets. I can't stand them, but it's Chase Utley. My favorite player of all time. And there is a little bias in it, but to be, non-biased, greatest second baseman of our era and for the Phillies. But it wouldn't have mattered. And they did talk about that too. And then the media got on saying Philly fans were getting soft. Like, oh, of course you do it for the standing ovation, but you don't do it for the 2 homers, and then you don't do it for the rest of the series. I guarantee you he will get that every time he is up to bat. I don't know if he's starting tonight. I don't know if he was, because they took him out of the game last night after he hit the granny.
I think he is playing tonight because I think I heard it on the because I was watching the game for a little while. I had it on the background, but I wasn't watching it because I'm fucking busy as fuck what I got to do. And I'm pretty sure he was in the starting lineup.
And I hope they would do the due diligence that he is their starting second baseman, because Kendrick or think it's Kendricks, is out in left field now. He's had a really good year. Now, the interesting thing is what will happen with Chase next year? He is 37 years old, and his contract is up. Is he going to get renewed? He has already come out and say he wants to play again. He's putting up the numbers for a 37-year-old, mind you. He's not going to be putting up the numbers, obviously, like he was.
Yeah.
But those knees seem to be holding up, so do they give him another contract? He's not going to be coming back here. The only time he's coming back here is when he's retiring for a Philly, as a Philly, and when he gets on the Wall of Fame in CBP.
You re-signed him strictly because of how fucking clutch he is. That's why I would re-sign him.
So if he's out there and we're in contention, do we go out there and just kind of get him as a mentor to mentor the new and up-and-coming Phillies when we're contending in the next 2 years? If he's still playing.
I don't think he would come here again. I don't think so. I think by the time we do contend, I think he'll be retired.
You think he would be a coach? I could see him being like a coach.
Oh, a coach, you mean? Oh, I thought you meant as a player.
No.
I can see him being a coach. I mean, I don't know if he would be for the Phillies, but I can see him being. I think he loves the base. I think he loves the game to a certain extent that I think he would be a coach. Definitely.
I could see him being a coach or even up to a manager, but he is a California boy, obviously. So I know he loves playing for his home team that he's watched grew up. Cole Hamels had touched on that too. But they were even talking about for Jimmy. They're like, do we re-sign Jimmy just get people in the seats and then kind of bring that back? I would say no to that too. But if they offered it to him to be a coach, I would do it in a heartbeat. Just to have Chase just back in the stadium, just his presence would put people in the seats and bring excitement back. Like I'm telling you, the electric, it was just so electric at the bank last night. It reminded me of all those runs. It was just so awesome to see because it's just been so flat for the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, this year there's at least been some sizzle because we're seeing some of the young arms. But yeah, it's been very, very boring and just because we're the old guys are still here, at least the last couple of years. So these young guys are at least reinvigorating the team.
Yeah, right. Like you said, they're giving some sizzles now that a couple of arms are on the DL now. That's kind of scary, like Nola and Zach Eflin now. But I can't believe that Chooch and Howard are the last two of the 08 World Series team still on there. They were talking about cutting Howard too. I would hope they don't do that. Just let him play his contract out and give him that due diligence.
Who knows? The way Howard's been hitting lately, somebody in the AL, might need a DH or a guy to pinch hit in the playoffs. They might want Howard.
Well, that's what they were talking about. They were saying, I forget what media person had said it, but they were saying you definitely cut Howard and give him the chance to go win a World Series. I would rather him just let it play his contract out because I think somebody would pick him up next year regardless of the way he was hitting. How awesome was that when Utley hit the grand slam and then Howard came back for us and then hit the home run?
Too bad the game was way out of reach by
that. Oh, yeah, it was a blowout. That eighth inning was atrocious. That was just awful with Araujo. Oh, my God.
I'll tell you what brought back memories. Howard's bomb from the other night, the one he hit into the bullpen.
The grand slam?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was a fucking bomb.
I think people forget about that. Everybody was so high on Chase, and I had overheard somebody saying, "Oh, Howard's such a bum," but I think people forget what he had also done for the franchise. It wasn't just Utley; it was those three-tier players, that whole middle infield. Minus third base because it was a revolving door, but those three guys coming up together was just money in the bank, poetry in motion.
Even though Utley was my favorite, Howard was always the most important. Because, when did he get going? Second half of the season, right? Like in September? And when did we always make our runs?
In September. That's the Phillies. Yep.
He got hot. He fucking carried the team. It's people don't want to hear it, but Howard was I think a way more important piece. That's why he's called the big piece on this team.
Absolutely. There's no World Series without Ryan Howard. And, minus he struggled over the years. He's a bit older and injuries have hampered him, but he was a large part of that World Series run. He is the best first baseman we have ever had. If people don't want to hear it, he has been.
I would have to think about that, but I would think so, yeah. Definitely. Definitely not I'm trying to think of somebody real bad. Travis Lee.
Oh God, no! I can't even think. I mean, Crocker was awesome, but he's no Ryan Howard.
No, no, not at all. No, he probably. I mean, it's just like first base is a position where there's so many sluggers. So, I mean, I can't really think off the top of my head right now per se, but Howard's the best one.
And it was awesome to have Tomey inducted, even though he was only here for those 2 years, and then that one time in 2012. Because it's like, why do you induct that guy? But he was another awesome first baseman. But it's a shame we didn't have him for longer throughout his career as well.
Mm. All right, that about wraps it up. I mean, great fucking night. Any final thoughts before we go?
Final thoughts. I'm excited to see if he gets the reaction from the fans throughout this whole rest of the series. Is what I want to see.
He will.
It's
maybe not to the extent of the first game, but he'll get a reaction.
Because we're being called soft now. First we're vulgar and mean, and now we're just soft. Like, pick a side, media. Keep taking shots. Obviously, you hate us.
You know the country's gone soft when Philly starts getting soft. Oh man. Yeah. For Kyle Gaffner, I'm Adrian Fedhue. Philadelphia is far from soft. Fuck off, media. We're out. Later.
Peace.